Hello, men of God. It is really good to be with you again tonight. I hope you've had a good week. For this video, I thought instead of me just talking, that I would talk to a woman who has been through this, because I think it's important to hear from the other side. I think it's important to hear from the wife's perspective and what she went through. So I have a very good friend here, Eva, a godly woman, really on fire for God, and I just simply asked her to share her heart. I have a few questions for her that will help us to put all this together. So Eva, thank you for being here and taking time out to share. My first question I have for you, Eva, how did your former husband's pornography use hurt you and the marriage?
Yes, the impact that it has had on the marriage, it really infected the marriage. And the breakdown as a result of it all, with the distress that comes along with it, the anxiety, the pain and the sorrow. With all of that, it affected me as a person, and I can just speak for myself, how it had affected me as a person. I was feeling unwanted. I was feeling rejected. I was fighting against these images that I didn't even know where it was coming from, but I was fighting against them. I felt like I wasn't looking good enough. I felt like I wasn't being good enough. But not knowing that really wasn't the issue. It didn't really have anything to do with me, but I made it about me as a result of the breakdown that was happening and the effect that it had on the marriage. I was truly disappointed, even with myself, and I got to the point where I told God I hated the card that I was dealt with. I really hated the hand that I was dealt with, and I got honest and serious, with Him. And I didn't realize that He would show up in ways that I didn't think and realize that He would show up in. But it really did have an effect as far as being an overall person. And like I said, you're fighting with these images. You're not good enough. You're not, and just knowing that it's not really even about you.
Wow. Thanks for sharing that. Eva, she shared quite a few of, I would say, some tough words here. She shared a word, though, I had not really heard or even read before. She shared the word that her husband's pornography use infected the marriage and infected her. And when we think of an infection, we know that's not good. That's very dangerous. And that she felt she was fighting with the images. And of course, we know our spouse should not have to really fight against images. And she hated the hand that she had been dealt. Once again, something that, our spouses should not have to pray at all. And so keep that in mind, because I'm sure some of us have talked with our spouses, and maybe some of us will be talking with them, and maybe we don't know what's really going on, how our spouse is thinking. So that was some good insight. Thank you for that, Eva. How did his pornography use change him?
I begin to see the change in my former spouse as far as his obligations, his decision making. His decision making became a little distracted, and I felt as though he just couldn't do the things that he was doing and focusing and concentrating on them in certain areas, of our marriage, of our life, financially, spiritually, physically, emotionally. It just started to take an effect. But then again, I began to pray and stuff and see what I could do on my part. But I begin to view him in a negative way because of the breakdown, because of seeing the distraction that it was doing, and just the overall marriage and what it was infecting and what it was kind of destroying almost.
Wow. Thanks again. You have a teenage daughter. How did all this impact her?
My daughter, she is 15 years old, and at the time when things started to come up and kind of come together and in what was going on, she kind of became a little selfish. Wanted to just kind of have her dad to herself type of thing. And just the emotionally, there was a change in her, because she started to view him like in denial, like, no, he can't be doing that, he would never do a thing like that. But she herself would have his phone, and certain images would pop up, and she would begin to ask me what they were, and I tried to share with her in a way where she would understand at the age that she was at the time. And it did have effect on her academically, very much so. I saw her change because she was homeschooled, so I saw a complete change in her academically as well. And she just kind of isolated herself as well. But I just noticed over the period of time just how she has become a little selfish, just wanting what she wants to herself. That was the impact that I seen that it has on her, that, and she didn't think this would ever happen, and, so on and so forth.
Okay. For your former spouse's pornography use, did it just stop with pornography, or did he continue downward and into other things, like affairs or anything like that? Or did it just stop with pornography?
It did start out with just the pornography.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it started. We were in counseling. We've been married for 17 years. Our 8th year, we were in counseling. And we kind of was back and forth with it. And just sharing the certain things that were going on. And the counselors were sharing that eventually it would lead to adultery. But he just knew that wouldn't, that wouldn't happen. And just with the pornography, there's so many other open doors because of it being such a the way that the pornography draws you in, and you don't know what else you would be doing. Like, you don't know what else it'll lead to, as far as doing something inappropriately, whether it's peeping or doing other things. And that's what was shared when we were in counseling, and how the pornography, where it would lead, and certain other things and certain other doors that would open to it if he continued on. And then, yes, it did eventually go into an affair.
Okay. Eva, you have men who are watching this, men who have struggles in this area. from a different perspective, from a perspective that we all need, what would you say to these men?
After going through it, I would really say the impact, the infectious way, the breakdown, the distress, everything that comes along with that. If you're not willing to have a life that is a battle on your knees before the Lord, because marriage itself is a life of forgiveness anyway, and it has its challenges. But if that comes into the marriage and that's a part of it, you really have got to have a relationship with the Lord, where that would be your battle. Your battle would be on your knees with the Lord, because there's going to be so many things to come in and so many ways that'll affect the marriage, and you won't even see, because we as women, we're so emotional, and we look for everything, and we just voice it out instead of praying about it first sometimes, and just kind of seeing when it is okay to talk about it and when it's not okay to talk about it. And it's just so important to not have that to be a part of the marriage, and where the children are involved, and it just opens so many doors. And even now, being that I'm divorced now, and I still struggle with that, and I don't want to view another man and stereotype him as him having that same struggle, or even allow it to come in. So that's the thing now too. After it's all said, after it's all done, it's like now what? For all the heartache, for all the anxiety, for all the sorrow, for all the pain, for all the brokenness, for all that. It's like it really takes a long time even to heal. As a woman in a marriage with a man that struggles with that, it's a lot, because you think and you just assume that every other man does, and everybody else, and it's like that's not true, because women even struggle with pornography or whatever, other things as well. So unless you really, really have that relationship with the Lord, and are really going to ready to battle on your knees, I wouldn't even suggest to even be in a marriage situation. And if you are, to make counseling a priority on the list. Make people that are in your corner that you're going to be accountable to, highly, highly accountable to, whatever it is, whatever the struggle, whatever the time, whatever, all that is very, very important.
So, man, bottom line, pornography damages. It damages the family, it damages the children, it damages the spouse. And I know that's something that we don't want to do. So take her words to heart, which I know you will, because I know who I'm talking to. And I really hope your discussion is good, is very good. And think about your spouse. Think about the ways that she has been hurt and repaired, and it needs to be repaired. And as Eva said, counseling is very important. And we may need to, as she said, to battle on our knees. Is there anything else you wanted to say at all, Eva, to these men?
Just kind of sitting and thinking of some more things. But fear plays a big part. along with the pornography, because of the fact that it's, you know, we tend to, when it's something that we don't think we're supposed to be doing, we tend to hide and, you know, just try to be a little discreet with it and try to, and so that causes so much fear. And then you have to walk around in all this fear and all that stuff. And that is real evident too, in you as a person, as far as, you know, the things that you struggle with. It's really evident. Even myself, after a while, I thought, oh no, somebody's going to find out. And here it wasn't even me, but I had to struggle with that fear as well. So that was just an extra thing that I just was sitting here thinking about, just the fear from it all.
And we know that God has not given us a spirit of fear. So that means any negative feelings that the spouse has, whether it's fear or distrust or anger or bitterness, all those things are wrong. But we have to be honest and say we're the ones who cause it. So I'm sure you may know the problem is not with the female. The problem is with the male when we choose to sin like this. So my brothers, I hope you enjoyed this one, and I hope you were also challenged. Have a good accountability time over the next few minutes, and God bless, and we'll see you next week.